Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for clicking that button. Welcome to Marriage Mondays. I am Reverend Dr. Tara S. Saunders, the Candid Christian Counselor. You have tuned into the Fruit of Our Hands Christian Counseling. Today's topic, self-esteem check. Do you love yourself? Let's get started. Do you love yourself? I know it is an odd question. Another odd question, why would this topic be a part of premarital or marriage Christian counseling? In a nutshell, having a healthy self-esteem affects every area in our lives. In psychology, the term self-esteem is used to describe a person's overall subjective sense of personal worth or value. In other words, self-esteem may be defined as how much you appreciate and like yourself regardless of the circumstances. Having a healthy self-esteem, loving yourself is essential. It starts and develops in childhood and transitions into adulthood. The same goes if you have low self-esteem, a negative view of, say, not loving yourself. It goes from childhood to adulthood. Whether healthy or unhealthy, your self-esteem, loving yourself or not loving yourself, will follow you throughout your entire lifespan. This is the main reason why you must always strive to maintain a healthy self-esteem. Loving yourself. I can guarantee that if you live long enough, you will have circumstances that will lower, even drain your healthy self-esteem, causing you to love yourself less. It is important to know the state of your self-esteem, loving yourself before you get married. It is equally important that you find out what is the state of your future spouse self-esteem, them loving themselves before getting married. Marriage is work. Marriage can be difficult. The things that you are not willing to get Christian counseling for or work on before marriage will cause your marriage to suffer unnecessarily. You not loving yourself or your spouse not loving him or herself is a weight. It's a burden that many do not see coming. This is why I'm discussing this topic. It matters how and what you think about yourself, regardless of what people say about you, the names they call you, how they treat you, or how much they make you feel unworthy. Decide today that despite what people say or do, you will love yourself no matter what. So, Dr. T, why is a healthy self-esteem, loving yourself, essential? Well, as I mentioned before, your self-esteem, loving yourself, follows you throughout your entire lifespan. And it affects you in many areas. It affects how you cope with disappointment and changes. It affects what you think and say and do. It affects how you see the world and your place in it. It affects your self-confidence. It affects your emotions, feelings, and moods. It affects your relationship with friends, family, spouse, co-workers, just people in general. It affects the decisions you make. It affects your ability to both give and receive love. It affects your ability to act when change is needed. It affects your problem-solving skills. It affects so many different places and so many different things and what we do throughout our life. It affects your happiness. It affects your physical appearance. It affects your hygiene. It affects how you carry and treat yourself. Listen to this: personally, publicly, and professionally. It affects your organizational skills. It affects your communication skills. It affects your judgment. And lastly, it affects your spiritual growth. Of course, this list does not include everything. It provides those who are listening ways low self-esteem can affect them. How can you tell if your future spouse has low self-esteem? Consider themselves lost unworthy of being cared for. Poor risk takers operate out of fear of rejection, are typically unassertive in their behavior with others, are fearful of conflict with others, are hungry for the approval of others, are poor problem solvers, are plagued with irrational beliefs and tend to think irrationally, are susceptible to all kinds of fears, tend to become emotionally stuck and immobilized, have a poor track record in various areas. They sometimes overcompensate and become overachievers, or unable to affirm, hmm, unable to affirm or reinforce themselves positively, or unable to make an honest assessment of their strengths, qualities, and good points. They find it difficult to accept compliments or recognition from others, struggles with indecisiveness, cannot make or will not maintain eye contact, poor posture, always needy. They constantly need to hear, I love you. Base their self worth on another person, extremely soft spoken. Have poorly defined self identities with the tendency to be chameleons to fit in with others, are insecure, anxious, nervous when they are around others, can have anger about the status in their life, and are likely to have chronic hostility and chronic depression, are easily overcome with despair and depression when they experience a setback or a loss in their lives, tend to overreact and become de-energized by resentment, anger, and the desire for revenge against those whom they believe have not fully accepted them. Fulfill roles in their family of origin that are counterproductive and maladaptive. These roles carry over into their adult lives, are vulnerable to mental health problems, and have a propensity to use addictive behavior to medicate their hurt and pain, such as alcohol, drugs, food, gambling, sex, shopping, smoking, working too much, or the endless search for excitement. With all this at stake, do you now see why a healthy self esteem, loving yourself, is essential? Dr. T, what does a healthy self esteem, loving yourself look like? Let me take that back. Avoid dwelling on past negative experiences. You express your needs, wants, and desires clearly. You say no when you do not want to do something. You support others. You are confident in who you are. You do not compare yourself, your work, skill set, gifts, and talents to anyone else. You are not maliciously competitive. You accept your strengths and weaknesses as a part of you. You accept and learn from your mistakes without feeling shame or guilt. You can receive compliments. You can admit you are wrong and apologize. You do not blame others for your life or your problems. You admit you don't know something because you know that your knowledge is not tied to your self worth. You know that not all criticism is an attack, but it also can be an opportunity to grow. You accept life's ups and downs with a positive outlook. Again, this list does not include everything, but provides listeners with a view of what a healthy self-esteem, loving themselves, look like daily. To have a healthy marriage, couples must walk in already healthy, loving themselves, and have the ability to love others, to reciprocate love. The couples must remain diligent and committed to remain healthy. Premarital Christian counseling can make a difference. It is the job of the Christian counselor not only to find, but also observe behaviors that might hinder the couple's marriage. Christian counselor will help the couple with scriptural references and tailored homework assignments that will help the couple or person who is struggling with so low self-esteem to gain a healthy self-esteem. Now, this is only achieved by hard work and commitment. So, let me ask you some questions. Do you love yourself? Do you think you are a good human being? Are you deserving of love? Do you deserve happiness? The last two questions. One, does your low self esteem, not loving yourself, have a root? Two, when and where did it all start? There are some symptoms of low self esteem. One, self hatred. This is generally described as an intense feeling of loathing, anger, frustration, and dislike for who you are. Two, deprecating internal critic. This is referred to as perfectionism and can cause feelings of being a failure or not good enough. 3. Negative body image can be caused by a feeling of unworthiness or by comparing your size, shape, or appearance to others. Poor health choices. These include addictions, overeating, undereating, lazy behavior, not sleeping. Constant negative emotion. This is described as an overwhelming moods that we can have, such as anxiety, impatience, oversensitivity, apathy, and depression. Now, while you might have already have a good indication of that you might be suffering from low self-esteem, not loving yourself, what is your next step? If by now you are aware that you suffer from low self-esteem, not loving yourself, please heed my warning. Do not get married. Even if the date has been set, the venue has been booked, the invitations have been mailed out, please heed my warning. Do not get married. You are walking into that marriage with low self esteem and you are not whole. Now, the goal is not to just get married, but ultimately remain married. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you for clicking that button. I am Reverend Dr. Terry S. Saunders, the Candid Christian Counselor. You have tuned into the Fruit of Our Hands Christian Counseling Marriage Mondays. Today's topic, self-esteem check. Do you love yourself? Until then, be blessed, not stressed.